got a disclaimer and notice for you. I was editing my video series that I did with my wonderful guest Trevor, and unfortunately the video footage facing towards me was lost along with the audio, so you're kind of just stuck with Trevor in this video, but that's okay. I wanted to present this to all of you as this first Spiritcast episode, and instead of junking an amazing talk that we had, I'd love to go ahead and present it to you to the best of my ability. I just want to give you a disclaimer. This video is for educational purposes only, and I am not advocating the use of any substances, any types of drugs. So I just want to be clear about that. Again, this information is being presented on an educational basis, conversation basis only. It is not meant to be taken as an advocate type of viewpoint for these substances discussed in the video. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed today's video. Trevor, welcome to the Spiritcast. It's our first episode. Hope you're having a good day. Welcome on. How you doing?
Pretty good, man.
Pretty good. All right. Well, I'm doing great here.
Yeah.
We got everything set up, the lighting, the cameras, the microphone, it's all rolling.
Right.
We even got our screen over here, and we'll be able to bounce off of that and check it out and see what we're going to be talking about today.
Yeah.
Today we're going to be covering Dolores Cannon on life after death, and she often refers to it as life between death and birth. I believe that's what she calls it.
Right.
And also we're going to be covering Michael Pollan on the healing powers of the psychedelics, and I think he dives primarily into mushrooms, especially on this video over here, so we'll be kind of reviewing that, seeing what he's discussing, and we'll just kind of chat about it, see what you have. But like I said recently, my coming out video about talking about my spiritual experiences, we definitely want to cover some of the stuff I'd like to share and how I can resonate with many of these things that are being said by these wonderful authors and public speakers. And I've been working on public speaking myself. I just recently completed my Toastmasters leadership manual.
I know.
Certification.
Congratulations. Yeah.
Thank you,
Congratulations, man. Yeah.
I appreciate it. We got the Competent Communicator certification done.
Yeah.
We're going to keep moving on here with the Toastmasters International. But from right there, welcome on to the first episode.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining me.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to embark on this discussion.
I know, right? It's great, dude. We've been having some deep conversations these last couple days here.
We have. I feel like I'm still at the surface level, where I'm just now discovering some of these things.
Right.
But it's impacting my life, and I want to talk about it. I want to talk about it so other people can maybe experience some similar things and discussions to get to a deeper level of understanding about the world around us and how we impact it.
Absolutely. No, it's truly a time of awakening.
It is.
Especially with the amount of information we have at our disposal.
Yeah.
That doesn't drain our bank account.
Right.
So it definitely allows us to quickly access amazing knowledge like this.
Yeah. We live in an age where we're able to do this.
You know, going to the bookstore, I've never seen anything like that in the bookstore. You can go in there, you can find a couple books on the spiritual side of things, but
really, do you dive in?
Yeah, you're just kind of like, well, this is interesting.
Yeah.
But when they talk about it in these videos, I really get engaged with what they're saying.
Yeah.
There's a comment section, and you
Yeah.
can communicate with other people that might have certain viewpoints. Recently, Skylife actually did a series on, over here, she did a series on the past lives. And so we can type in her name, Skylife. See her. She tried the past life regression, and she did a video on that. Getting advertising. I don't have YouTube Premium, folks. So she did a video on the past life regression, and so she went through and did this past life regression therapy session with one of the folks, and I decided to leave a comment down there myself, and people said, hey, we really want to hear
what you've got going on, man, because I made a comment talking about how I'm, reliving the same life over and over again, and how I can distinctly and clearly remember all my previous lives and explain all of the situations and stories I've been through in excellent detail, especially emotionally charged stories where, I've been through these experiences, and even with you, I mean, clearly I definitely remember having those experiences with you. And, this really kind of peaked off for me a few years ago, about 2-3 years ago, when I was out in California living there, and I was down in the San Diego area, and I really just had
Beautiful place.
Oh my God, it's gorgeous. and I really peaked this point where I dove into this sort of recognition, instead of thinking it was deja vu, instead of thinking it was a premonition in many cases. I started recognizing, like, no, I'm definitely reliving this life, I'm repeating these situations, and this is kind of what's going on right now. And for me, that was a big awakening. It was really hard on me to comprehend the amount of detail, why I'm here again, what am I doing here? And so that's why we kind of go into Dolores Cannon and, Michael Pollan, or past life regression, and some of these videos to try to discuss, well, for here again, what are we doing here again? Why would we come back?
Why would we repeat the same thing over and over
and
over again?
Why an entire lifetime? What is it? I mean, maybe there's a lot of things we didn't learn.
Right.
And we can recognize that. You get to the end of your life, you have a bunch of regrets. So there's all of that, but we mostly see our life through our perspective. We don't see it through someone else's perspective, like yours,
right,
or the next person,
right,
down the street.
We don't see how we impact those people in our lives,
right,
and what they thought in those situations.
Exactly, and that's 100% what we're here to discuss today. We're going to be going straight here on the first episode, just discussing past life. And I think psychedelics and what benefit they actually can bring here to humanity on the board. When I was out in California, I was actually working on a petition to possibly get mushrooms on the list of legalized.
Which sounds absolutely ridiculous. Like, nobody would ever legalize that. No, why would you?
Right.
Because why? Like, no one wants people to have that level of consciousness.
Yeah, I think that there's definitely an expansion factor there that's, I mean, we're currently dealing with, the Black Lives Matter thing, and we're just trying to fix some basic issues in consciousness.
We have riots going on over social justice,
right,
all during this pandemic, and
Clearly there's a war on consciousness.
Yeah, there is.
There is a war on consciousness. Graham Hancock nailed it on the head on his TED Talk about the current war on consciousness. And have you seen that video?
Actually, no.
That TED Talk got banned.
Really?
That TED Talk got banned. It was. They took it down. You start bringing up these types of things, and people, get a little on edge, right? Because you've got people's religious beliefs, you've got people's beliefs that they've had coming up, and I think a lot of these people have genuinely never actually experienced having a psychedelic, or maybe a complete out-of-body experience. So for them to talk about the matter, it could seem really taboo or out there. You need to understand what benefit it can bring to our community, and I think scientifically right now more than ever, we've had the most research that ever has been allowed for us to understand how effective these plant medicines, as I like to look at them, can help us under the proper guidance and supervision and assistance with people to work out, especially past issues.
Right.
And I think sometimes, I know even myself, I've drug in issues from previous lifetimes into this life, and that have had to be worked out. And for other people, a lot of it mostly just comes from the childhood and stuff you're dealing with. So. Yeah.
That's a lot of past trauma that you got to heal.
Right.
Until you experience that expansion, is there any really possibility of healing? You know what I mean? Like, can we actually heal from our past traumas and have a fulfilling future without those humbling experiences. You know? Like,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's really a shift in consciousness and understanding.
Mm-hmm.
We keep shaking crap out of that camera.
Do we?
Yeah, we keep going like this.
Yeah, both of us do.
Yeah, people are going to be watching and they're like, wow, that camera's really on the move.
Yeah.
Look at it go.
Yeah.
We'll have to kind of like keep our hands off the table.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah.
I've been trying to.
It's hard.
It is hard. Yeah.
It's our first go, man. We got it set up. Technically, we could put it on that little pedestal over there.
Yeah.
Should we?
Yeah, let's try it.
Just go ahead and move it. We have a slight interruption on today's podcast, brought to you by Shaky Table. It's our first sponsor here at the on the podcast. Shaky Table has been with us from the beginning, which is now, and wait. Wait, we're trying to make it work, folks.
There we go.
Is it looking okay?
That's looking better.
Is it alright?
Yeah.
Oh, hell yeah, it's just killer. You can keep it there as long as it like fires towards us.
Okay.
Oh, that's so bright.
Killing you?
Yeah, no, we're good now. I think we can shake the table all we want. Feeling a little shaky bit. Okay, don't shake it too much.
Don't shake it too much.
We're gonna have it all coming down.
Right.
So, back to kind of where we're diving into here.
Let's dive into this.
Oh, we could just take this so many directions, and I think that's what's fun about it. But let's start off with some organized manner. Dolores Cannon. Have you ever heard of her?
Not before you introduced her to me.
Right.
Really?
Look at you would see her and you'd be like, I think that's like my grandma, right? Like, they're always so sweet, kind.
Yeah, she's just like, a sweet little old lady.
Look at the sweet old lady.
Yeah.
No, she comes down, she's like, look, we got some discussions to have right now.
Yeah.
Very intelligent, great memory, good communicator, excellent expression. So she's got all this great spiritual work. She's worked with thousands of her clients. She does these basically hypnosis sessions, and where she takes the client, the person, back into a previous lifetime, even before they were born. So a lot of hypnotists bring their clients maybe back into their life to a certain point and work with them with some type of psychotherapy. She goes way back. She goes before the lifetime. Now, I think that's awesome, and I think this is something that's really warranted. I think you have people come into this lifetime, and they might have an abnormal fear, like of heights, water, spiders, something very specific. It could be a person, we don't.
And where does that come from?
Where did it come from? Did it come from the childhood? Because if it didn't come from the childhood, it's coming from somewhere. And I recognize in some people, I can tell there's fears that have been drawn in from a previous lifetime. Like oceans, for example. Why are you afraid of the ocean? You've never been to the ocean, you're afraid of the ocean. Is it just an irrational fear? Is it a fear of the unknown? Or is it a genuine fear because you remember drowning in a past life in water? Maybe you got a spider bite that actually killed you and you're terrified from spiders. So I think it's important to discern where the fear came from. And if you can recall things before you were born, you have some ability to recall that, opening up your mind in that way, maybe using your pineal gland, using your connection to this sort of etheric world that can't really be seen in the small spectrum of less than 1% of the visible light that we see anyway.
Right.
Like we can hear, we've got many senses. It's great, but I think we have a lot more abilities than we're taught.
Yeah.
And I know that they're not taught in school. Everything from telepathy to empathy to things like clairaudience, the ability to hear spiritual messages, stuff like that. And it's just not discussed. I mean, we focus on politics, sports, football, economics, investing, all of these things. And don't get me wrong, finances are great. The hobbies, the sports are, it's good for you guys.
It's all meant for.
It's
all meant, yeah.
But right, we don't. Where's the discussion on our spiritual half? I feel like we've really disconnected from that spiritual discussion and the spiritual world.
Yeah.
And there's not even a lot, I mean, if compared to the rest of the YouTube platform or other platforms, I mean, especially even in the news, once in a while you might get the snippet of, of just this short conversation, and that's it. The rest of it's just pharmaceutical advertising or just other garbage. And I don't know, what's your take on it? What do you think about this kind of current spiritual discussion that's going on right now?
I think we're starting to open our eyes a little bit. I know for me personally, I've had to go on a journey where I felt lost a lot of the time. And what I thought was spiritual might not have actually been spiritual. And I felt disconnected. And just recently, just becoming more aware of what is out there, the resources that we have, the knowledge that there is of the spiritual world, and my own experiences has just started to lift the veil,
right?
As you'd say,
That's what I'm talking about.
And it's a process, but it's connecting to that spiritual sense of yourself. We all have it. We all are part of the spiritual world in some way, shape, or form. It's just a matter of how you connect to it, and that's important to talk about. It's important to hear.
Right.
And I feel like we're starting now to discuss these things more.
Right.
Like you said earlier, just like, would you go to a bookstore and look at a spiritual book? Sure, you take a look at it, maybe skim through it, but really, do you engage in it? Now we have the resources available to do that. We live in a technology age.
Right. We can even find just like social groups, on Facebook, on Instagram, that want to communicate about these ideas.
Instead of using social media to scroll through who looks the best on Instagram or what family's doing the best on Facebook, we can utilize social media to expand our own knowledge.
Right.
And use it to our gain, to our advantage.
And absolutely, I agree 100%, and I think we should touch in on these personal experiences that we've had and kind of correlate that to what's going on right now.
Yeah.
Kind of like we've been listening to Dolores Cannon here. We're about, 22 minutes into her discussion on Dolores Cannon, Life After Death. Video has over 1.2 million views, 24,000 likes. People love this.
It wasn't even
content.
posted a year ago.
Yeah, and it's 3,646 comments.
I know.
People really are enjoying this. Looks like it's making its way into TikTok now. That's kind of interesting. If even half of this correct, we have nothing to worry about other than enjoying your Earth experiences now.
Doesn't that provide a sense of peace?
It does.
Doesn't that just tell
I think this lack of self-love and self-acceptance really hinders our ability to live our life to the fullest.
Yeah.
I mean, we go around bent up. We look like a nice, piece of equipment on the outside. I don't know.
Right.
But we might look good on the outside.
But we're scared as shit in the inside.
Where we might be all bent up inside, just completely bent.
Just torn apart, just depressed, anxious, fearful.
So tell me about one of your experiences that you've had going through, maybe one of these spiritual events that you've been through that you really maybe haven't been able to discuss with your friends much, and that you'd like to.
Right. So, we kind of talked about it. Just a very recent experience last week. I decided to go to Mankato, where I lived for a few years, and that place was filled with experiences, both positive and negative. But I developed what I thought was kind of my family, like a close group of friends who became family members. And when I lived in Mankato, I did not understand these dynamics and what it was like. I moved to Rochester in November of 2019 and was back and forth for a little while, and then I came back to Mankato last weekend. And it was reuniting with that same friend group, those family members, if you will. And one of my friends came back from across the United States, surprised me, and the entire family, as you will, kept it under wraps until I got there. And it just felt like a reunion of a family, like people coming back to their parents, if you will, you know? Coming back to this little town. Coming back,
reunion.
Yeah, a little reunion. Like, yeah, we're all getting together, we're having a cookout, we're enjoying our lives. And then those dynamics come about. And in that sense, I felt like I was the youngest child. It was weird. It was weird because I think it showed me that I had been really selfish in my past life with this type of role.
Okay. What was your past life like? The same life as like being Trevor again?
Yeah, but
so you weren't another person.
No, but
you were Trevor.
A different role.
Different role
within a family.
Okay.
Like instead of being the oldest kid, like I grew up in this life.
Yeah.
It felt like I was younger, like the youngest kid.
The younger kid.
I was the youngest
kid. It's like part of their family.
Yeah.
So you were in another family altogether, in another life.
Yeah.
Altogether.
Yeah.
See, that's what I'm talking about. And today we've got like all these news stories of these little kids that come out and talk about to their parents about the life they just came from.
Yeah. And
the parent, a lot of parents go, I really hope somebody's not. They can't be wrong with my kid. Like, what? We didn't give him any trauma. It's like I'm not really sure.
Right.
The kind of stuff because they've never heard of this before. And that's part of this discussion. So that's exciting, man. Tell me more.
Yeah, so, we had that great reunion. We're all chilling. And I remember saying a few things that felt oddly familiar that I've said in the past. And people, like my friends got quiet. Like that was a really selfish thing to say. And I reflected on it in the moment, that first night of being there. And I was like, I'm being really
Did I really
insensitive,
just say that?
like really insensitive, really selfish.
Mm-hmm.
And did I really just say that? I don't act like this normally. Do I? And in that moment I was like, wait, I've been pretty selfish for a while. How am I impacting these people? And I felt their perspective coming at me. I felt it, just like, yeah, you're being really selfish and insensitive right now, and we don't really want to talk to you, but we love you.
Yeah,
we love you.
Right.
So we're going to show you that we still love you.
Right.
We're going to allow you to be in our house. We're going to keep reminding you that this is kind of your home.
Right.
One of my close friends in that group, she looks at me and she goes, Patton feels comfortable here right away. You know that, right? And I was like, yeah. And she goes, this is home to her. Like, she's comfortable. She knows this is
Patton's
home.
your dog, right?
Patton is my dog.
Okay.
Yeah. And I've had Patton for almost going on 5 years now. And I used to take her there all the time. Like, she always felt comfortable no matter what. And she looks at me and she goes, this is her home. Like, she knows this is her family. And I looked at her and I was like, why would you, like, and it was out of nowhere. It was a random statement.
It's just totally out of the norm. Like,
Totally
they normally would never say that.
No.
And you could feel you could sense, you had a sense of their conscious view of what you were doing.
Yeah.
But you were really only viewing the conscious experience from your point.
Yeah.
So you're really looking out and you're seeing your perspective, right?
Mm-hmm.
But all of their perspectives are kind of looking back at you. So there was a clear lesson to be learned there, right?
It was, don't forget about us.
Don't forget about us.
Also, treat us how you would treat anybody else when you're outside of our little world, our world,
right?
When you're not there.
The squad.
Yeah.
The fam.
Yeah. When you're not a part of us, you have to remember us. And when you come back to us, you have to treat us with the respect and love that we treat you with.
Right. A mutual respect.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't doing that. I wasn't doing that at all. No. It took me the majority of the weekend to come back to it. To really feel like I was a part of them again.
Reconnect.
To reconnect.
Reconnecting.
Yeah.
Plug that cable back in.
Yeah.
So
and I couldn't.
The charge was weak.
Yeah.
The phone's gonna die.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's literally what it was.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I just, until the end, I was like, I feel this awkward tension between all of us. Like, is this the end of our friendship?
Yeah.
Is this the end
Is this where we're going?
Or do I need to change something about what I'm doing?
Tell us about the kayak.
The kayak, yes.
I want to hear, is that day 2?
Yeah,
that was the next day.
Well, so we didn't actually go kayaking day 2. It was
Okay.
day 3, technically, because I showed up Friday night and left Sunday night. So Saturday, you know, I'm hanging out with my friends, and friend Kevin, who surprised me, he was like, yeah, I'm going to go hang out with my other friends here in Mankato that I haven't connected with for a while. It's like, all right. And for some reason, I felt this force telling me, like, you need to stay with Aubrey and Jesse. And
That was your intuition.
Yeah. It was like,
but are you used to listening to your intuition?
No.
You hear that, folks? Listen to your intuition.
Mm-hmm.
Listen. Listen up. He's got a story to tell you. Let's hear it.
So I'm sitting there. This force is telling me, hey, you need to stay here and hang out. You need to be with these people. You need to show them that you care and spend this quality time with them. Because you haven't seen them for a while. You haven't talked to them for a while. You haven't done what you needed to do as a friend, as a family member, as somebody who loves them. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to stay here. And, you know, we went out, and Aubrey's like, yeah, we could go we need to go pick up some water stuff for tomorrow. We need to go run some errands too. Like, Trevor, do you want to come with us? I'm like, yeah, sure. So me, Aubrey, and Jesse, like we always used to when I lived in Mankato, just embark on just doing random shit together. And as we're doing, you know, we go to Shields first, and Jesse plants a seed. I'm like, oh, look at this kayak. Doesn't it look nice? Doesn't it look really nice? And I'm sitting there, and I'm like, well, yeah, I've been wanting a kayak for a really long time. Mm-hmm. You know, I love to do it. I've been out a few times. Like, I've went on trips and actually done it. Why not look at it, you know? Mm-hmm. And I'm just looking at it. I'm like, do I really want to make the investment? Do I go out enough? Do I do these things? And I'm sitting there, and I'm like, contemplating, but still saying no. And we go to Shields, and we're hanging out there for a while.
So that was no number 1.
Yeah,
no
number.
No, I don't want it.
No, and I was like just looking at him, like, yeah, it looks great, you know, whatever. And he's like, all right, let's go look at some shoes. And he brought me to the shoe section in Shields, and Aubrey goes off, and she does her own thing, and she's looking at her own shoes, and he, like, I had a choice. Like, we were walking down the middle. You know how Shields is set up, like going toward the cashiers, and it splits off. Mm-hmm. You either go to the women's shoe section or you go to the men's. Right. And I could have followed Aubrey and just hung out with her because I love hanging out with Aubrey. Like, she was my friend in the form of things. She was my friend first. Like, I met her first out of everybody. I could have went with her, right, and just hung out. Instead, in that moment, because they split off at the same time, and I was walking kind of behind them, Jesse went off to the left, and I just trailed on to the left. Went right with him. And it was weird. It was an experience, like, I've done this before. Yeah. And I walked to the shoe section, and I'm sitting there.
I've done this before. Like, what do you mean?
Like, I've done this before. I had a decision to make, and I feel like I made a different decision.
Like in the past life?
Yeah.
As, like, Trevor?
Yeah.
Again?
Yeah. So but in a different family, you know?
But in a different family?
Yeah.
But not as, like...
In a different role, too.
But not as the same person?
No. I mean, Same, like... I'm Trevor,
human suit.
Yeah, same human suit. Different role.
Different role.
Different role within this.
So you went off with Jesse.
I did.
Okay.
I did.
And what happened?
We're looking at the shoes, and he's like, these are expensive shoes, but they're nice. Like, we're looking at Keens, you know, water shoes. You know, and I'm like, why are we just looking at water shoes? Like, I don't understand what's going on, you know. And he's just like, yeah, like, this would be great. Like, water shoes are perfect for the river. Like, you know, I've got a pair of my own, like, the same style. And I'm like, what's going on here? And I thought about it, and he left me for a second and went back to Aubrey, and wanted me to. I could feel that he wanted me to keep looking at those shoes, and possibly buy a pair. And I didn't.
You didn't do it?
I didn't do it.
You didn't do it?
I didn't do it. And I kind of felt them a little disappointed. Like, this has happened before, and you said no. You didn't do it. What are you doing? We're leading you to the water, and you're not drinking.
You're not drinking.
You're not doing it.
Yeah.
So we
dried up dog.
Yeah. And so we leave them all, we go to Jesse's dad's house. And Jesse's dad is acting weird toward me too. Like, he's like, hey, how's it going? Like, and like, this has happened before too. And I'm sitting there like, hey, like, I'm doing pretty good, how are you? Like, we've never talked that much, we've never conversed. And he's trying to get me to talk about kayaking and whatnot. And I just don't know how to relate. I just don't know what to do. That awkward tension is there again. And I'm just sitting there thinking, what do I do? What am I doing wrong? Why is this tension here? Why am I feeling all of this like anxiety coming at me?
Right.
Anxiety of like, why aren't you choosing? Why are you repeating the same mistakes? And I felt it from all three of them.
So what'd you do?
Well, we're sitting there, and I helped Jesse load the kayaks, and, you know, I feel like this weekend, too, was about teaching me stuff, like how to load kayaks, like put together equipment, just prepare stuff for when you want to go out as a family, as a friend group, whatever, like, to be a leader, you know? And we were on the way back into Mankato. It's a little bit of a drive. And we're going back, and I'm thinking about that kayak. And we get right to Mankato, and I thought to myself, like, should I say something? Should I not? Like, I'm going to inconvenience Jesse and Aubrey right now.
Yeah.
And then I was like, no, fuck it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to say, hey, can we go look at some kayaks again? Like, let's go back to Shields. Do you mind doing that? And it was not even for the kayak, actually. Looking back, actually, it was for the water shoes. I was like, yeah, I need a pair of water shoes. Let's go back.
Wow.
And Jesse goes, I bet you we could go to Fleet Farm. And there's some cheaper ones there. And he's like, yeah, we could possibly look at some kayaks, too. And I was like, let's do it.
Let's do it.
Let's just do it.
On.
Yeah.
Let's go.
And even in Fleet Farm, I contemplated it for a while.
You were like, I don't know.
I'm still having this internal conflict of like, should I invest? Should I not? And as soon, I didn't pick the kayak that Jesse wanted me to pick. I picked a slightly cheaper one. And one that was green, my favorite color.
Of course.
Got
the green shirt on now.
Got the green shirt on, and they, instead of like showing disappointment for not choosing the right kayak, they're like, God, that's a great kayak that you just chose. Right. We love it. We love how you just chose a kayak. They're like, great purchase, Trevor. Great purchase. Great purchase. Right. And Aubrey, even, we were looking at paddles because mine didn't come with a paddle. She looks at me and she goes, yeah, there's some great paddles here. And I was like, how much were your guys? Because these are expensive. And she's like, well, they're right around this price, so it's fine. She's like, pick whatever one you want. And I was like, I could go with the cheap one, I don't care. And then she goes, or here's an idea. You can pick out this blue paddle. I'll take it, and you can have one of our own. And I was like, are you tricking me? But it was a good trick. Show me that you care about me.
Right.
Show me that you love me right now.
Right.
And I did it. And they were so proud and happy. And that entire next day on the river was a great day.
You just had a blast.
I had a blast. And I felt like
the
mutual respect came back. Yeah. And I made the right decision. And that tension was releasing.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I let that anxiety stress go.
And even though I still did things wrong in the weekend, reflecting back, I made the key decisions correctly. And I know I did. And I left that that kayak in Mankato because I know I'm going to come back and I'm going to spend that same time with them.
There you go.
Again.
See, there you go.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, reconnecting with the way I see it is that before we were born, right, we have these sort of, kind of like Dolores Cannon refers to, soul contracts with individuals, especially with family and friends. And we're here to do something together, right? What it is, that's up to you in your life, right?
Yeah.
But clearly that lesson for you was to reconnect with them, to learn that, learn a little bit about take your intuition and put it into work, put it into play, not repeating a regret,
right,
a mistake,
right,
and then you ended up doing it right, and you were rewarded with a awesome time, right?
Yeah.
You had fun.
Right.
And if you would have not gotten it, you probably would have, really would have sat in your conscious, right?
Yeah.
And I think we got to avoid those things that'll sit on the consciousness. That we feel like we made a mistake or a regret, or we did something like we could have done it better.
Correcting that karma.
Correcting, karma.
Yeah.
Basically.
Just paying it back.
Paying it back,
yeah.
Right? What we came here to fix.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
Yeah. It was quite the experience.
So what was your like final lesson from that whole experience? That from your friends to the end, wrapping it up.
Multiple lessons, dude. Okay. I mean, first it taught me you're being selfish, insensitive, and you're acting like the youngest child of a family would.
Right.
Like, I reflect on how my brother acted growing up. And my brother's a great person, and he developed nicely, getting married next week.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
But the entire time growing up, and even still to this day, he demonstrates this lack of awareness and insight to what other people in the family are feeling based on his own selfish actions. And I'm sitting there in this role for a weekend where I'm feeling like I'm the youngest child of a family.
Right.
And I'm seeing the perspective of the other family members. Seeing how selfish I'm being and insensitive. And that was a big lesson for me. That was like a slap in the face.
Right,
the first day there, slap in the face, and it continued. And then the next lesson I was learning was how to be more self-sufficient, how to be a leader in my own life, and direct my own life so that I can direct my own family, friends in the future, and be a guide for others.
Right.
And that was, the second one. The third one was I needed to reconnect. I needed to learn how to reconnect with family, learn how to reconnect with a spiritual sense, and just be more aware of what I've done in the past that has impacted others.
Exactly.
And how to fix it, how to be more conscious of other people's needs and emotions.
There you go.
Those
big lessons, man.
Oh, very big lessons.
Good for you. I mean, it sounds like you got it right.
Yeah, I'm trying. I hope I did.
Yeah,
I hope.
If you don't have a regret and you feel like the tension settled, probably a good indicator that you learned what that lesson was about.
Yeah.
That was just one weekend.
Yeah.
And you got a whole lifetime, my man.
Yeah.
A whole lifetime.
Yeah. Every day.
Every day.
Every day.
Every day. Yeah. Exactly.
It's crazy.
For me, in my personal experiences.
Yeah, let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah.
Let's dive into yours.
Dive into mine. Oh my God. So what do you think so far about some of the experiences I've shared with you?
It's way more in depth than what I've experienced. And sometimes it's beyond my grasp.
Okay.
But I try, and the way I do that is by looking at the concrete examples that you give me and trying to analyze those concrete examples and fact check.
Right.
Really, is what it's about. Because what do we constantly do in life? We fact check.
Right.
We make sure it's logical. We make sure it's reasonable and concrete.
Yeah.
Because human beings like concrete.
Yeah, they do.
Especially if
we're taught to like the concrete. So we look
are.
at the shamans in the jungle or the Native Americans. They're a lot less concrete with their spiritual groups and their focus on...
Because they're taught to live in a different...
Yeah, they live in a very different...
reality.
We're in the concrete jungle.
Yeah.
They grew up in the plant jungle.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so we're I think we're in this bit of we're kind of deluding ourselves in a sense to that reality. But I appreciate you making those points, because I definitely have been through a lot of experiences. That's kind of this whole point of the podcast, is to be able to share these spiritual experiences and kind of show people these examples, like, hey, there's more people out there that want to talk about this. There might be some fear behind talking about it, because you're kind of opening up yourself to everyone that has a phone and a laptop that wants to see it.
Yeah.
But I think breaking through that fear and just, again, leading with love, like I did in my previous Toastmasters speech, we have to be able to set an example for people not to be afraid. Like, you know, we went out in that thunderstorm. Right?
Yeah.
We were at the base of a massive river with a thunderstorm overhead.
Yeah.
And we've got water coming down, lightning, and a massive, the biggest river I've ever seen.
Yeah. That weekend.
And I just walked straight in.
Yeah.
And what were you thinking when I walked in there?
I was like, this is ridiculous. Why are we even here right now?
We're
on the edge of the Mississippi River, already considered one of the most dangerous rivers in the world, and we're in the middle of a thunderstorm. It's lightning right over our heads, basically.
And I just swam out into that river.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I remember looking at you, and I was like, this is insanity. And then at that moment, though, I said, screw it, we're getting in.
We're getting in, man.
We're doing it.
And those people were watching, too.
They were.
They were just standing there like...
They were. And that alone
and that was
an eye-opening experience.
Breaking through two fears at once. Fear of getting in icy cold water.
Yeah.
The danger of the lightning and the thunderstorm, even, but primarily the fear of the cold water and people, what they think of you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because, like, how are we ever able to fully express ourselves if we constantly have to care about what other people think? I mean, obviously within reason, okay? Let's be honest here.
Right.
Privacy is important.
Privacy is important, yeah.
Things like this are important to talk about, because it's a breakthrough. It's an experience.
It is.
Did you see a shred of fear in me?
No, none whatsoever.
I just swam right out into that river.
And
I saw the boats. I saw the boats coming by. Yeah, that water was like 44, 45 degrees.
It was cold.
Yeah, I swam out and I saw the boats zipping by, and I'm like, I don't want to go too far out there.
Right.
But I didn't, I just followed my intuition. I knew I was okay.
Yeah.
If I had a feeling in me to not go in, I wouldn't have gone in.
Right.
But clearly, I discern intuition from fear. Clearly, one is quite like logical processing, and the other one is a very emotionally based, intuitive experience. And so I discern the difference between the two, and that's where I make that judgment.
Yeah.
And I've had to learn to make that judgment over many years. So when you're able to separate the two, viewing life and using your intuition is a lot easier. So you listen to your gut, you go, okay, is this an important matter or is it not, right?
Right.
And if it is,
it's
important that you pay attention to what's going on right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
I agree, man. Yeah, I've been through so many of these experiences, and for the longest time, I had a hard time finding people that online, like YouTube or other places, that were able to align with many of the experiences I've been through when I talk about past lives, when I talk about repeating the same life in the same body with the same family and friends, like literally in order, all of it, congruency throughout the life. Clear, there's a what I know to be true, at least for myself, and I think this goes for other people, is number one, during this period of time, we are definitely reliving the same lifetime as a human being.
Yeah.
It's not just me. There are other people that recognize it, but it's hard to make the connection because of the lack of discussion. It's scary, number two, So it's not easy to handle that level of comprehension. It's
No.
like, whoa.
It is not.
So, not going to go too far into that right now. But number three, why are we reliving the life? And I think that's the biggest subject here. And that's where I think Dolores Cannon and people like her that have these discussions can shed some light on what's going on.
Yeah.
And from my experience, I go back to my life review, right? I've had out-of-body experiences. I've been blasted above the earth and seen the interconnected sacred web of all life, and I wasn't taking any drugs.
Yeah.
No drugs.
Yeah.
Just a natural release from the body, to be completely honest.
Yeah.
And so these experiences that I've been through have allowed me to have a greater expansion of consciousness, which lets me understand how reality functions, why we're here, and what's going on, right? Because I grew up in the Christian Catholic family. I went to church school. I was there at church every Sunday, and
Same.
I personally did not like it. I did not want to be there.
No.
I told my mom, I love you guys, but I don't want to be here.
Yeah.
This is so boring. They fall asleep in church. But I think over time, I began to understand many of the things that I needed to learn from my own experience. And I think we need to experience it for ourselves to really get it.
Yeah.
Like you said, from your going there this weekend, it's like, okay, there's more going on here. People need to wake up and smell the coffee,
right.
you know?
Even before that, when you came and visited me in Rochester,
Right.
and we went to the Mississippi River, that weekend for me was an awakening.
Yeah.
And it was beyond a level of comprehension that I've never had before.
Right.
And it scared me.
Mm-hmm.
I told you that. I
Absolutely.
struggled afterward.
Dude,
I struggled hard.
I saw it, but I also knew that you were strong enough inside to work it out.
Yeah.
You know?
Be resilient.
To work it out, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of like this when you have a conscious expansion. It's kind of like a wave, right? You've got the peak and then trough, right?
Yeah.
And so you're going through this cycle, and you have an expansion of consciousness, but there's likely to be a rebound.
Yeah, and that's life. That's life. It's constant.
Right. It's these waves that come in, and it's how you handle those waves that come in is what determines your success.
Yeah.
Right? Are you going to get cheered on from that stupid thing you did?
Yeah.
Probably not. Right?
Probably not.
But if you did well, you're going to have this sense of wow,
satisfaction.
I got it right. Taking a breath of fresh air.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
it's that shift, and so I definitely I'm happy to continue to share more of my experiences, but basically I see myself reliving the same life over and over and over again. Not 100 million times, not an infinite number of times, just me as Sean, in the same body, with the same family, same parents, same life, same friends.
Yeah.
The whole thing, right?
So you've
from
done a
beginning
lot,
down.
right?
Yeah.
Within those family dynamics.
Clearly,
within those
my
friendships.
first round is Sean. Come on, guys. That was ugly. I remember it. I did not do well. That was not.
Yeah.
That was. I had so many regrets, so many things that I failed to learn, and I went through the second lifetime, and I did a little better, but I still failed to learn a bunch of things. Third time came along. I'll be walking down the street and I'll see the different overlays of my different lifetimes walking down that street, and what I failed to learn and what I achieved learning. Right, and then you finally fast forward to this lifetime, which is, I believe, the fifth opportunity to live as Sean again. Yeah. And so I experience seeing this reality of what I've changed and what I got right. Right, I get to certain points where I do it right, I do it right. I'm like, wow, I am doing good this time, baby. I am getting it right. And for me, that's the biggest thing, is getting it right. Just keep getting it right. Doing your best every single day. Just give it your best every day, so that when you get to the end of your life, you did it your best that you possibly could.
Yes.
And when you don't do that, you half-ass it, And you get to the end of your life and you have these regrets and you're like, wow, I really failed this person, I let him down, this just didn't work out. Then you're likely to want to fix something. Because when I went through the after-death experience, you know, yes, you're immersed in this unconditional love, welcoming back to your family and all of these things. And there's clearly, you know, this transition, your spirit guide meets you, it's kind of like this angel bringing you over to the other side. It's all about this transition.
Yeah.
And so you're leaving the physical
realm
and time and space, and you're going into the spiritual world where time doesn't really exist anymore. It's just a construct that we put ourselves in a physical form to understand reality and learn the lessons we came here to learn. That can't be learned there.
Yeah. And as Dolores points out, which is emotion and our limitations.
Right.
Yeah.
About learning how to get a control of energy, right? And the emotions, right?
Yeah.
Learning these feelings, and it comes out in and out, and it's complicated.
And emotions are energy.
They are energy.
Yeah. How to manipulate those emotions.
Right.
And understand them.
Getting a grasp on it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so when I'm there going through the life review process, and I'm looking back through my life, I'm looking at it from like a super conscious or like a higher consciousness, like sort of like this God's eye view of everyone's perspective from how they see reality, not how you see reality. And there's almost like this little glowing geometric, I don't know what you want to call it, thing above each of us.
Probably not
consciousness.
Words. Yeah, it's probably not.
It's
our
our true conscious.
Yeah.
That sort of sits above the head. And when you're going through the life review, you can also see that. It's like, it's there, right? We can't see it, but it exists. So you're then able, when you're going through the life review process, to see how other people see how you treated them, and that when it goes very poorly, you can see that you failed to learn that lesson. And it's very clear.
Yeah.
Now, when you've done, I remember when I did things right, positively, you know, when you're going through that review, it just ends up being a very positive experience. And you can see how you made an impact on someone's life to make their day better, like holding the door open for them.
Yeah.
And really, it's the little things. You might think it's these big things. No, it's constantly those little things that you ignore and let it slide, and you don't like maybe serving someone some fruit or a beverage, you know, those actually end up changing their whole day.
Yeah.
And so when you're going through the life review, you see how those little things you do made their day better. It's not just about, you know, working on yourself. It's also about the good things you did.
Yeah.
What you did right, what you did learn, you know, and so you see those things. But yeah, it's this highly emotional experience to go through the life review, and your spirit guide will be there with you through that life review, and that's what I remember from going through the life review process. And so, not diving more into that right now, but I look at these past lives and I'm going, okay, well clearly I wasn't Pollan at some point. I was somewhere else doing something else.
Right.
And now we're here at this point, right? I may not remember all those other things, but it seems pretty clear to me that we've been many other things, not just people. You know, animals, plants, insects. You know, we've had to work our way up this evolutionary tree in a sense to get to where we are right now. And so that's a transition. I think for some people, I see like they really feel like maybe they're a female, they're in a man's body type of thing, and you look at them and you go, well, maybe they haven't accepted that transition yet, right? They were a male, very masculine, but they had a very lacking feminine side. So now they were born into a woman's body. They're
to learn a different
how to be a female, right?
Yeah.
And so that they can experience the feminine aspect more and understand that energy and that thinking process. And so to balance the two energies is very important. And so that's kind of what I'm seeing, I think, a lot in the world right now with these different communities, like you see LGBTQ, I believe it's called. You say it right.
LGBTQ plus,
plus, plus, and the transracial.
Yeah, we just watched a video on that.
Transracial, right? And so I think we have this complex of like things going on where people are transitioning into new bodies, and they're not quite accepting that transition yet.
Yeah.
They're not really sure why, and there's not enough discussion of it in our society. And it could be probably part of why. I'm not going to say all of it is valid.
Right.
Okay.
We don't know for sure.
I'm not going to say all it's valid, but I think that there's a good percentage of people that are in that transition or in that process to have that shift. Because clearly if these are just suits and we can be spirits, then it's very realistic to understand that we could jump into another body when that time comes.
Just have another suit.
Have another suit.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's just kind of the way I see it right now.
We're good.
All right, cool. Well, let's now that we've shared a few personal experiences, I think there.
Yeah.
I'm happy to dive into more later. Hello, we're gonna have to pause. All right, welcome back for part 2 of the Spirit Cast, episode 1. We are currently transitioning into who we've got here. We were going to talk a little bit more about Dolores Cannon earlier. So I just want to know, what do you think of Dolores so far?
So far it's really engaging, and it's a lot of what we've talked about in our own discussions without even referencing Dolores at all. Talking about past lives and how we can just continue to do it over and over and over again until we get it right. And I watched 22 minutes of this video while we were setting things up, mainly you, but I was able to, I don't know, I was just into it. I was engaged. I was like, I need to watch this entire video.
Right.
It's about 54 minutes.
Yeah, it's a little lengthy.
It's a little lengthy, but the first 22 minutes of it provides some great insight.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
And
she just really gets into it. The Transformation Conference. It's fantastic. We're over here in Dakota land, and one of the last things that people are discussing, at least on this side of the state, is that I know over in the Black Hills region, there's definitely more metaphysical type discussions going on. It's much more spiritually oriented group in that side, in that side of things. Over on this side of the state, I feel it's more of a church oriented type of viewpoint with the mass amount of churches that are here.
This portion of the Midwest.
But I think that people are looking for community, and they find that in their church groups. And I think a lot of people that find these spiritual groups find their community in that, and they engage in that. I think there's nothing wrong with that. I think we shouldn't be biased towards people's views. I think it should be just about what they've experienced so far, what they've found to be true for themselves.
Yeah.
But clearly, we do need to continue to have these discussions on expanding our consciousness and learning more, because I think what you get from church can perhaps limit your perspective, especially if you've never tried things like psychedelics before.
Yeah.
You've never tried one,
right?
You're a reductionist scientist, and you've never had that type of experience for yourself, and life being all about experience anyway. Maybe that time is coming, and we're seeing that beginning of a transition, a shift in the world right now. We're currently seeing the most use of psychedelic plants that we've seen since the 60s, right?
Yeah.
Before I was even born.
Since the hippie movement.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's being analyzed, and you look over at Denver, at least it was decriminalized. They're not going to send resources after people over something that comes out of the ground, folks. Yeah. It came out of the ground.
Yeah.
So when did we start making Mother Nature illegal?
Right.
What?
Right.
That doesn't make sense to me.
No. And
then we started, companies like Monsanto, Syngenta. We now have life itself being patented. The manipulation of genes to grow, more meat, essentially, and dairy to grow these big agribusinesses and stuff like that. So like we have to be aware of what we're doing and who we're providing our money to when it comes to us, because us as a consumer in the society with these companies, every time we invest $1 into something like this, it's all about what company is going to grow as a result of where you put your money.
Right.
And if you're putting your money into stuff that is not helping the planet, helping our society, or just helping people in general, then it could be hurting.
Right.
It could be really hurting.
Yeah.
So I'm happy to see things like Beyond Meat stock flying through the ceiling.
Yeah, just in the last 3 months.
Yeah, just going through the ceiling.
Yeah.
And this transition to millions and millions and millions of more people, as I predicted back in a speech I gave for my dad's group. It was called the TOPS, the weight loss group. I gave a 47-minute speech there talking about how you can eat healthier, eating whole foods, plant-based diet, and avoiding a lot of these risks of developing certain cancers and diseases as a result, especially cardiovascular health. And then I talked about the current incline of veganism in the world right now, and a shift in consciousness in that direction. Because the way we're living is completely unsustainable. There won't be enough planet for us to continue to sustain that type of lifestyle.
No.
Especially with our pets. We don't even factor in that we're killing animals to feed to our pets.
Yeah, that was something that you said to me just the other day that was kind of eye-opening. Like, we're feeding our pets with other animals.
Other animals, right.
Yeah. That
could be someone else's pet.
Mm-hmm.
It's another way to kind of look at it. Depends on your culture that you grow up in,
Yeah.
That's a big thing.
Yeah.
So that's, part of why, currently
our
dog, both of our dogs for several years have been vegan dogs. And they love it. They do great. Their health is good. You've seen my vegan dogs. Are they doing well?
Yeah. Yeah, 116, right?
116 years old now.
Yeah,
16-year-old dachshund.
Do they live that long normally?
Yeah, 16 is like typically the max lifespan for a dachshund.
He's running around.
He runs up and down the stairs. Or goes for hikes with me out in the woods.
Yeah.
And you've seen it in my videos.
Yeah.
It's not a dilapidated dog.
No.
He's doing fine.
Right.
If he wasn't doing well, we would have known within the first probably couple of weeks. Right. We're talking about years of being on vegan dog food, and eating his carrots and his broccoli and whatever else he likes. Mm-hmm. And it was an easy transition. Mm-hmm. We got it done. He liked it. He likes the dog food, and I've seen a lot of other YouTubers and people online that were also feeding their dog vegan. Yeah. And I looked it up online, and I looked at plenty of the research and said, okay, I didn't fully understand it, but now I've got a better understanding that dogs can be plant-based and thrive and do well as long as they're well fed.
Yeah.
And we don't have to be chopping up one animal to feed to another animal. I'm not going to say that's going to work for the whole animal kingdom.
No.
Okay?
No.
But I think that us as owning pets in society with the mass
cats and dogs.
Mass quantity of animals that we have, we got to do some sustainable solutions and reduce, a lot of what's going on right now, I think. Mm-hmm. But let's not dive too far off our discussion.
Right. So, as a society, we're limiting ourselves by not experiencing these plant-based medicines, as you call it.
Right.
And
like ayahuasca, mushrooms,
psychedelics, just one of those plant-based medicines that we talk about.
Exactly.
And how beneficial it can be for healing, and transforming, your own state of consciousness. Yeah.
The brain, the neural networks, the MRI scans that have been taken during these psychedelics being taken, just to show the mapping of the brain during the experience and the receptors that are being fired, the new neural networks that are being opened up.
We're finally able to research these things.
Right.
It has been outlawed up until recently.
Yeah, it's been super outlawed.
It's super frowned upon within the scientific community.
Dude, our neighbors would have a heyday if a mushroom thing was legal. Well, what? That's a drug. That's awful. Like,
Yeah.
don't you know how, like, can you...
I've had people tell me this.
Yeah.
How bad it is. How...
But they don't know anything about
They've
it. They
never-
don't even know what the actual scientific name of the plant is.
No, they've never even had an experience with it.
No, they haven't, and they're judging it because they were taught in our society growing up another lie, which is that all drugs are bad.
Mm-hmm.
And meanwhile, our parents go home and they're going down to the drugstore. Dare, you know?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Dare. Oh, what a program.
Oh my God.
Oh, I remember that.
The cop comes in and he's like, no drugs.
Drugs
and then
are
meanwhile,
bad.
he'd go home, you know, being obese or whatever, he's taking his drugs.
He was overweight, wasn't
Yeah,
he?
he was.
But he came and talked to our middle school classes.
Taking pain relievers. He's taking his own medications. And, like, I even had a time in high school where someone in the school reported me for being on drugs. One of the teachers did. And the sheriff came and got me during class. And they brought me in and tested. They urine tested me right then and there.
Yeah.
And mind you guys, I didn't take any drug. I was not taking drugs.
No.
You know, I was not smoking weed. I was not around it. I didn't smoke it.
You were probably the least likely person to do it in high school.
I did. I was like the good kid.
Yeah.
When it came to that type of thing. And anyway, so I got piss tested, and I completely passed with shooting stars everywhere. And the sheriff looks at me and was like, well, it's clean, you're good to go. I was like, I missed 3 hours of class because of this. And they're like, well, you know, just make it up. And I'm like, oh my God. And I looked at the guy, I looked at the officer, and I was like, I think you've got the wrong Sean. Like, because we had a few in our school. And And not to get private or point fingers. Okay, I'm not saying that.
But we did.
But,
we had a few that were not.
But probably a lot more likely to. But anyway, it was a finger point.
Yeah.
It was a finger point.
Yeah.
And, you know, and I went back to the teacher, one or two of the teachers, and I was quite confident reported me, because I was tired that day. I was really tired. I wanted to sleep, man. I stayed up all night, you know, the usual school depression, and I just want to play video games and not do my homework, you know, like the average kid, you know?
Yeah.
And I, that day was extremely tired, and they just thought I was on drugs as a result.
Yeah.
You know, my eyes were probably a little red. They probably thought I was high or something.
Yeah.
And they wanted to bust me, and there was nothing to bust. So I went back in there and busted their chops. And I went back into one of the teachers, and I said, thanks for that experience. And I pointed at him and I said, so how's your drugs going? But you got a few bottles sitting down there in the bottom of your drawer. You want to pop a few of those and go take a drug test? Why don't you go do it again to me? You know, like, I pointed the finger at them. I let them have it.
Yeah.
I was obviously very upset.
Well, obviously,
because
as it should be.
I got pulled out of class. My parents were pissed that they went and drug tested me, forced me to drug test me. So they were so mad. And I didn't think much of it, other than I was like, I have to make up for all this homework and stuff. And like, yeah, I didn't take the drugs. You know, I didn't.
Yeah.
My parents at the time had me on a couple ADHD medications, and obviously that dulled me down a lot.
Mm-hmm.
That was before I had that super out-of-body experience that really transformed my life big time.
Yeah.
So this was just before that. But yeah, so like, I think this discussion is so important because we'd like to look at this, like, all the drugs. Don't do drugs. Drugs are bad. And it's like, okay,
what?
Do you drink coffee? Do you understand that coffee has caffeine in it?
Caffeine is a drug.
That's a drug.
It is a drug. Nicotine? That's a drug.
Exactly.
Alcohol?
Alcohol. Do you drink?
Yeah, every...
Huge drug.
Yeah.
Look at how many... I talked to a lawyer. I personally talked to a lawyer. He says, Sean, listen, I got something to tell you. He says, almost every single one of my cases that relates to drugs are all alcohol related. He says less than 10% of those include any form of narcotics, cannabis, anything. He says, I have never had a single cannabis violence related event. They have all been alcohol violence related events that I've had to take to court. he said, I even had a meth case once that ended up ending in some form of violence. But he said, never did I have any cases. Now, I'm not saying it's not possible that someone's all fired up, but look at this. This is what I'm trying to make the point of. We're okay with drinking and getting drunk and wasted. Going from bar to bar completely
just out of our minds.
Because you're giving yourself a chemical lobotomy on the frontal lobe, which is your direct perceiving tool of like the forefront of your conscious, walking day to day.
We're dulling our consciousness when we are
and you give yourself that chemical lobotomy.
Yeah.
I mean, think about how you're altering your consciousness, and you're not in the right mind.
No.
Not at all.
No, you dive back into the primitive nature of your brain.
Yeah,
which has the basic emotions.
Yeah.
Anger, fear.
Yeah, anger, fear. People get drunk, they get angry.
Sadness,
depression. Their brain's dehydrated, their liver's getting taxed, their immune system's
the judgment goes
punched.
away. The judgment, the ability to forethink.
Right.
I mean, to think.
Yeah. Your ability to think.
Way, like think forward.
Your ability to think under a clear conscious state is just.
Dulled.
It's practically decapitating.
Yeah.
But you get far enough into that beverage.
Yeah. But yet, psychedelics.
Right.
That expand our consciousness.
Those are the ones that are legal.
And what are mushrooms?
War on consciousness.
What are mushrooms? Is it a schedule? What scheduled drug is that?
Yeah.
It's got to be pretty high.
No, it is a scheduled one.
Yeah, it is.
It is. Right,
and it's got to be high on that scale.
Dude, no one has ever died from a mushroom. Well, psychedelic mushroom. Specifically, like psilocybin.
Right.
Okay. I can't say the same for Amanita, but we're looking at psilocybin, right? And we have this discussion about this mushroom, and it really makes us recognize that where's the textbook on that one?
Right.
What we don't have there was some early studies I think done during maybe the late 50s, early 60s. We had some some like LSD, psilocybin type studies that were coming, and
that was right around the time
it was killed. They axed that.
We should play some clips of the commercials back then.
Oh.
Discussing the terrible nature of psychedelics and what they do for you, and they destroy your
they destroy you and stuff like that. And clearly,
it's like this is your brain. This is your brain on drugs.
Yeah, this is your brain on drugs. Yeah, with the egg. It's so stupid. It's like brain on drugs. What? Be more explanatory. Don't just give me an ad. Question it.
Right.
What drug?
Right.
What's its specific side effect?
Because we know there are bad drugs out there.
Sure.
They're synthetically made drugs that are terrible for the body.
They're bad, especially if they're misused.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then they're...
Or abused.
Plants. And then plants.
Yeah, you got the plant medicine. Recently I had you try the mugwort.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
For dream time. So what do you think of the mugwort? Clearly a legal, mild psychedelic.
It is. It's very mild.
And what did you experience?
When I drifted off to sleep, I remember my dreams. I remember they were very vivid.
It was a lot more vivid.
A lot more vivid.
There you go.
Most of the time, I don't even remember my dreams.
Uh-huh.
That's how disconnected I've been.
Right.
And I woke up this morning and I was like, wow, I was meant to see some things, but I wasn't supposed to remember the specifics. And I remember going into the night thinking like, wow, it would be great if I could like peer into my future somehow.
Yeah.
Like do that. It wouldn't let me.
Yeah.
My body wouldn't let me.
Yeah, you're probably not ready.
No.
That's really pushing the edge of consciousness.
It is.
I mean, at least for our experience. But your intention may not have been clear enough.
No.
I just want to see the future.
Yeah.
What is it you want to know? Is it really important to your heart and your soul to know what's coming into the future?
Right.
I mean, is it really? Like, what do you want to know? If it's vague, then you'll just get a vague picture.
Right.
So if your intention is clear, like, I want to know how my grandfather's doing, or like I want to know, for example, like, is the college the right thing for me down in the future? I would like to have some insight into that path. If I were to take that experience going into college. Originally, when I moved to Sioux Falls, I was ready to settle down straight into college and hop into it. I was dating this Russian girl at the time, and I was ready to go ahead and move into that. And she encouraged me to go into college at the time. I thought, yeah, all right, maybe this is the right thing for me right now. So I was going to go into massage school, right? Massage therapy. I was like, hey, my friend Irene does massage. I think this is awesome. I've been doing a lot of massage work on many different people, clients, quite experienced with all the different muscles and adjustments. And I actually ended up getting a Reiki certification, which is supposed to be like energy manipulation, right? And Reiki meaning the raking of energy. Okay. So to put this into context, I was really interested in this type of work, of massage. And I sat down on my bed one morning and I was thinking about it, and I was ready to go make the phone call to, begin the process. And I was just slapped right on the face, just whack. And I was immediately blown into this future path. And I saw my life and how it would play out from that point on if I were to take that path of going to that school, starting massage therapy, and working massage. I saw the crap money I made. I was years down the road, and I saw that I was very unhappy with the amount of money I was making. It was a real loss for me. And I didn't realize that I wouldn't make good money doing that type of work. And later on, after talking to massage therapists, I learned that they're not happy with their income.
Yeah.
I mean, I've only met maybe like one or two people that were happy with their massage income, and they're just not. Right? They're relying on another source. They're relying on family. They're relying on a husband or a wife or something. And so, I had this vision though, very clear, the whole thing, years and years. I saw, it was like a flash, and I had all this information come through instantly. And I saw the disappointment in the income and how it really drug me down in life, and how I felt. And then I was shown basically like, if you want, I was basically told this: the life you want to live will not be achievable with the income that you're going to make from doing this work. You have the choice to do this; it's your own free will. But clearly, we're going to show you this message, and it's up to you to make that decision. And for the next 2 days, I was just like dead inside. I was dead inside because like I had my hopes up. I was ready for this. I really wanted to do it. I was excited to do massage school. But I saw that vision, and I was not about to ignore a very clear-cut message like that. I mean, this thing set me back, dude. I was like depressed for 2 days. It wasn't like I'm just sitting there wondering and worrying about this or having some hallucination. No, it was a very direct message. Like, this is how it's going to go if you decide to do this. Okay? And I went through that experience. So I dropped it. I didn't call the college, and I went on for a few months deciding what else I would want to do. And eventually I started nursing school with SDSU. And so started taking that journey instead. So, clearly I had these indicators. Now, was I on any drugs at the time? No. No medications, no pharmaceuticals, no herbals, nothing. Just, I was completely sober. Almost always when I have these experiences, I'm completely sober. I'm not taking anything. This stuff hits me. It hits me hard. It hits me really hard. I mean, it's a whack. It's a freaking whack, dude. It's a bat to the soul. It's not a bat to the body. It's a bat to the soul, dude. So that's one of those experiences I had. But I think for a lot of people, they're not able to tune into these experiences, and then they can't understand it, and then they write it off, and then they don't end up understanding the message.
No.
And they throw it out the door. And I think that's where psychedelics can come in and break that barrier to accelerating the growth of consciousness and expansion. accelerating the growth of the individual's conscious to expand their understanding and the viewpoints of others and themselves from a higher perspective.
Exactly.
And we don't allow ourselves to experience that because of fear.
Right.
People look at psychedelics, they were taught all their life, you're afraid. You're afraid and you should be afraid. Here's why you should be afraid.
Yeah. When I get people to talk about psychedelics, they're like, I don't know if I could ever do it. Yeah. I don't know if I could ever try it because
I was scared.
They say it's a hard drug. It's a hard drug.
It's a hard drug.
What?
It's hard for you to try it.
Yeah. Okay. What's hard about it?
I want to be clear though, like, I'm not condoning the use of these drugs.
And neither am I.
I'm not condoning that someone goes out there and just hops on a mushroom. I do not want to condone that people that are not in the right setting go do this.
Because there's a way to go about it.
It's not something you just pop in your mouth.
No, there's a way to do it.
It's kind of like your pharmaceuticals, right? You go to your doctor, you understand how much to take, when to take it, what not to mix it with. Yeah. Don't be stupid if you ever decide to go do this stuff. My channel is talking about my experiences, not my how to do it.
Right. We're not teaching in any sense of the form.
I want to be clear about that.
Yeah. We're talking about experience.
Yeah, we are talking about experience. But I also don't want people to get excited and be like, oh yeah, I'm going to do this.
No.
And then the wrong setting, and they're depressed,
and
then they pop one, and then they have a bad experience.
It's all about what we talk about, the intent behind it.
Right. And what is your intention?
Right. What is your intention? And do you feel safe even trying it?
Yeah.
Because safety.
And we don't even have a safety for it because now people want to try it and they do it underground. It gets mixed with something.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, you got yourself a mess on your hands.
Yeah.
Or you got someone that goes and takes it during they're driving their car.
Why would you do something like that?
But people drink and drive.
Yeah, they do. They do.
Like recently, this guy here in our city just crashed a plane into the ground at 4 a.m. This morning, 4 a.m.
Yeah.
He crashed the plane, and who knows what was going on there.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know what was going on there. What a mess.
Right.
So all I'm really trying to say is, like, obviously it's focused on, like, our experience.
Right.
So, like, I just want to be clear about that.
Right. And in my limited experiences, I have noticed it's done a lot of healing.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you have these altered state of consciousness, it takes you to a place. It takes you to a place where you look at yourself, your life, how you've been impacted by other people. It's like a life review, but on your own perspective.
Right.
And the people who helped guide you there. And it was healing. It was very healing in the sense of the word. I mean, it was... It like you said, it transforms in a very quick way, like a much more efficient way.
Right.
It helps heal.
It's highly efficient.
It is.
It gets right to the point.
It does.
The core of the issue.
It does.
What's going on.
And it's scary.
Yeah.
Well, Trevor, my apologies for interrupting you a few times throughout the podcast. My sincerest apologies to you, but it was still a great conversation that we had, and I will definitely work on it in the future for episode number 2. And if you want to join me on the Spiritcast podcast, send me a message over on Instagram or comment down below in the comment section. Hope you enjoyed today's video. Unfortunately, I lost the rest of the footage and the audio for this video, but I still need to get this out because the first one isn't always going to be the best. But I really enjoyed coming back and listening to this. Trevor, you're a great guest. Thank you for being on. I really hope you enjoyed the video. Leave a like down below. Subscribe to the channel for more. And share this video if you think it was share worthy. Take care.